Welcome to the Let's Stay Healthy radio show, sponsored and brought to you by Montana Harvest Natural Food Store in Billings, Montana. If you don't spend time on your wellness, you're going to be forced to spend time on your illness. Your health is your most valuable asset. Invest in it by tuning in now.
Welcome everybody to Let's Stay Healthy. Michael Ray here with you from Montana Harvest. Here with Timmy Oliver, owner-operator from Montana Harvest. And we have a special guest on with us, Matt Black from Hyalogic. He's going to be talking to us about their health and beauty products and some of the other products that they have. And so good to have you on, Matt.
Great to be here again.
Yeah, good to see you this time.
Yeah, I love this. This new format is fantastic.
We can actually see what you look like.
Yeah, and I've always been told I have a face for radio, so I was very comfortable how we were doing it before. But I guess I'm going to have to step up my HA game now.
Well, you're going to have to get rid of that gray mustache, I think. Just teasing. I knew you would laugh because you laugh a lot.
Yeah, I do like to laugh.
Well, we're excited to have you on and talk about the benefits of hyaluronic acid and then also talk about Hyalogic's wonderful skincare line.
Absolutely. You know, this is a really a great time of year for us at Hyalogic. It is the skincare time of the year, right? I mean, you know, for the last 3 or 4 months, you know, we've been spending some time indoors, and now that spring has sprung, we're outside getting ready, and then you know, as soon as you know it, you're going to be out at the beach in the sun, and or up in the mountains in the sun, and you know, you really got to think about not just your skin and how good it can look and how good it can feel, but protecting it and all kinds of things that you know, you need to do to stay healthy throughout this entire process of the springtime. You know, here at Kansas City, that's where we're located at. That's the city right there behind me. Now you can see it. You know, we love living here. It's a great place, and you know, we make something very, very special here, something very, very unique here in Kansas City. And you know, it's really interesting is you know, Kansas City was known as the gateway to the West, where all the pioneers would come through, and they'd load up their covered wagons, and then they'd head out west out to see you all. And you know, we were the pioneers in this industry. So when it comes to the natural products industry, there was nobody doing this before Hyalogic. We kind of got this idea here about 25 years ago now. We've been doing this, and sorry, I had to put my cell phone aside. It was buzzing a little bit, but you know, we got this information sent to us by somebody, a friend of the company, that said, "Hey, you guys should really look into hyaluronic acid." Once we started doing that, I mean, it was really exciting. There wasn't a lot of studies back then, but, you know, we happen to have one of the world's leading experts right here in Kansas City. Her name's Dr. Karen Brown, and she has helped formulate all of these things throughout the years here in Kansas City. She set up our testing facility, our laboratory. That's right. You know, if you step outside of my office, you can go downstairs into our laboratory and see them in the white coats and the poofy blue hats. And oh yeah, it's great where we make this product. And that's really the magic of Kansas City is what they do down there. What I do here is just talk about how good it is. And I guess I need to work on my skin because I show you how much better it is for sure. But I'm getting up there in age, and I don't really have a lot of wrinkles. I think it's because I've been using hyaluronic acid for a long time, even before I started working for Hyalogic. But you know, we knew that we were onto something very special here in Kansas City because people started talking about us. And we don't have billions and, you know, millions of dollars for marketing here. You know, it really takes word of mouth. So we went to our first trade show, and you know, they handed out 3,000 free bottles, and they come back, and the accountant's like, "What did you do?" You know, and we're like, we're making business here in Kansas City because you really need to get people to try it, you know, before and they can feel it and experience it themselves. And that's kind of been the way we do things here. Is we want to make sure that you like our product because once you try it, based on the science that I know about hyaluronic acid, you've got a pretty doggone good chance of having results with that. So Dr. Karen Brown and Mark and Darren and now Michael, who's part of the ownership group here, hey, they have been doing a great job here. And we do something particularly different than any other hyaluronic acid company that's out there, where we focus on what's called a long chain molecule. And the reason that we do that is because Dr. Brown showed us years ago. She said, hey, your body makes a certain type of hyaluronic acid, and it's long chain molecule. And when I talk about links in a chain, let's talk maybe 3 million links in a chain. That's really how long it is. It's a glucosamidoglycan, which is part of the GAG, which is excreted right out of the cellular level for all you science buffs out there. Really, it's just a repeating pair of molecules. It's a long chain repeating pair of molecules. Those molecules are simply just N-acetylglucosamine and glucuronic acid. And they together with a little bit of a sulfur bond, they make this beautiful chain of hyaluronic acid. Now, your body, it's really, when I first started working here, they would use the word hydration. And I thought, well, how do you sell something when you're just using the word hydration? Because I could go down to the corner store and I could buy myself a bottle of water and I could say that I'm hydrating, right? Well, once I really dug deep into that, I started to become more and more familiar with what actually hydration is and how important this hyaluronic acid molecule is to hydrating not just your skin, not just your knees, not just your hair, which I have little of now, but it really is a whole body formula. So this molecule of water, which is about, for you science buffs out there, 0.27 nanometers wide. Well, the hyaluronic acid molecule that your body makes, there's a lot of scientific reporting out there that it can hold about 35, 36 molecules of water. So by going down to the corner store, if I don't have this, what we call the miracle molecule inside of my body, then that water is just going to be going right through the system, kind of like those little straws we used to have when we were kids. You'd drink it, the little curly, twisty straws that were kind of fun to look, and your Kool-Aid or something would go through it. Well, that's exactly what happens. If you don't have something to keep that water inside of your body and putting it to work, then we've got real problems, and it just goes through your body. And what will happen is you're just going to be up all night running to the restroom, right? And that's no good. We want you to have good quality sleep as well. This combination of hyaluronic acid and water, what the hyaluronic acid's main role is when it combines with water, and by the way, there's no other molecule in your body that does this interaction with the water, but its main role is to manage and distribute water into specific tissues and fluids inside of our body. Now, there's a lot of tissue inside of our body, and there's a lot of different fluids inside of our body. I mean, we start out as babies, we're about 89 to 90% water. That's, you see that when children are born. An interesting fact about that is when you are in the womb, you actually, the womb has the highest amounts of hyaluronic acid at that time in the umbilical cord, the amniotic fluid, the amniotic sac, just loaded with this hyaluronic acid. In fact, babies that were born with what look like chubby cheeks, they call it baby fat. Scientifically now that has been proven, they tested, and it's extra storages of hyaluronic acid and hydration that are in there. And when you think about babies, well, I guess, I've got all this cute baby fat on myself. I just say that's extra storages of hyaluronic acid. However, when your aunt comes up and squeezes those cheeks, that little kid knows that. And so, I think think that some kids have extra storages because you've heard of the phrase bouncing babies, bouncing baby boy. Well, your bones are flexible, and because you've got lots of growth and things that are happening there, and if they've got a lot of extra baby fat on them, I'm thinking, boy, that kid's in trouble because he's going to be bouncing all over the place. So our bodies knew that we might need a little extra care there. Well, basically what happens is we start out with all this hydration in our body because our bodies need it. We've got to stretch, we've got to grow. And by the time we get to adulthood in our 20s, all of a sudden this hyaluronic acid production starts to wither. It starts to go away. And what that causes is our bodies to start to dry out. Now, we talked that we might be talking skincare here today, and you want to talk about drying out. Well, you watch yourself go from, if you had a slow motion video, or I'm sorry, a sped up video, of yourself aging from the age of 20 to the age of 80, you can actually see this progress. In fact, now they've discovered that our skin actually has two rapid accelerating areas of growth or of aging. That happens in your early 40s, and it happens also in your early 60s. It's really, really interesting. And think about that. When I turned 40, all of a sudden my hands weren't long enough to hold out the reports or papers that I was looking at or books I was trying to read. And I had to get reading glasses. I mean, it was just like overnight. All of a sudden I'm 40 years old and I had to grow or go get reading glasses. That's exactly what happens. And so we actually go from about in our 20s, I think they're now saying we're about 68 to 72% hydrated. We go down to as low as 48% hydration when we're 80 years old. So think about that. I mean, look, you are going to lose the ability to hydrate your system by more than 25, by more than 30%. And I've got to tell you that this little hyaluronic acid molecule that can hold on to 35, 36 molecules of water has something to do with that. I mean, by the time we're, hitting our 70s or something, we're in full system meltdown here. You'd hear the sirens going all over the place because the collagen breaks down. You've got your hyaluronic acid. And so all of a sudden, the skin starts to thin out. You see the tendons, and, you've seen this probably in older folks. You see the tendons and things that are starting to stick through. You see the eyes start to go back in the head. You see the jaws. You see the skin start to sag. All of this is from this rapid loss of hydration. And so this hyaluronic acid with water, the hyaluronic acid really acts as a super sponge to hold and to optimize this hydration where it is most needed. I mean, let's talk about some of the things in your cellular life. We already talked about that it's a glucosaminoglycan, which actually is excreted out of your cells. That's where the hyaluronic acid actually comes from. Well, it also helps maintain and clean and keep that cell structure healthy. It transports things like oxygen through our body. It's very cohesive. I mean, how do you think your blood holds together inside of your body? And then it's natural to think of it as a lubrication inside of our body. We come from very close to the state of Kansas. I mean, when people say Kansas City, you think Kansas, right? Well, no, we're in Missouri right here. But over in Kansas, they had the Wizard of Oz. And, I happen to think that the Tin Man, when he was trying to get Dorothy's attention, was saying, I need HA instead of I need oil, because basically they're doing the same thing that's inside of your body. A car needs oil, and your body needs hyaluronic acid. And in order to keep this body running optimally, you really need to figure out a way to get more hyaluronic acid inside of the body. Now, can this hyaluronic acid come from food sources? Well, currently there just aren't a lot of food sources where you can get this hyaluronic acid into your body. Now, there was a city called the City of Long Life, or the community of Long Life over in Japan, where they found this community where they were living extended lives. And with these extended lives, I mean, they were out working in the field into their 80s and 90s. In fact, the average age of the population, almost 20% were over the age of 80, and that's just unheard of. They weren't experiencing things like knee problems, like joint problems. They weren't experiencing some of the age-related things that come from inflammation, because inflammation is a true natural enemy to our body as we age. We want to figure out how to keep that inflammation out of our body. And so what the scientists discovered back, and this was back in, I don't know, about 2001, when Connie Chung did this story with the ABC News Company on 2020, and they discovered that they had superior levels of hyaluronic acid inside of their bodies. Not only were they feeling great, but their skin, everything just looked absolutely fantastic. So they discovered that it might come from a certain type of vegetable. It's a little purple like potato. It is related, I think, to the yam family, and it's a really squishy, gooey. I don't know exactly how to explain what it might be like, but it's a very, very, very full of some type of fluid. Well, so they had this as a staple in their diet, and it's really grown in that climate that they have in that village of Long Life there. And so what they discovered was they felt like, well, okay, maybe this diet that they had was really helping them out. However, you can't really grow that, and you'd really have to be taking it all of your life, really, probably, to get the benefits out of it. So lo and behold, back in the day, they started saying, okay, how can we get this hyaluronic acid into our bodies? Well, they started studying places, and they found that in Middle America, down in Central America, they were taking the rooster coxcomb, which was the top part, that little rubber glove thing on the top of a chicken. And yeah, that's full of hyaluronic acid. And what they found is they would boil it in hot boiling water because they didn't want to waste any part of the chicken. And when they would drink, it was like a tea, and it would help with their joints. And so they somehow connected years and years, and many, many years ago, that this was an ailment, would help with joints. Well, what happened is that when companies got a hold of this, all of a sudden they discovered, well, let's genetically modify these chickens, and let's, instead of rubber gloves up there, it'd be like how Howie Mandel used to blow that glove up on his head. Yeah, they were really big. In fact, the chickens couldn't even hold their heads up because they were trying to get a high yield of hyaluronic acid out of there. However, when they were processed the hyaluronic acid, it broke it down so much that it became a short chain. So basically, your body makes millions of chain links long, and these ended up being hundreds of chain links long. Okay, so they were finding that it was somewhat beneficial. And so companies started putting it in their products, this low molecular weight hyaluronic acid, where, the funny thing is when they first started using hyaluronic acid, because it had this gel-like formula. They started using it in the 1950s as an egg white substitute. And so they would put out these baking formulas that you didn't have to add eggs to. Believe it or not, it had hyaluronic acid. And they didn't know what to do, because women didn't, or whoever was making the cake, they wanted to add eggs to it. So it was not successful at all. And that's when they really started to get into the studies of how this could help your joints and structure. Well, it wasn't long before hyaluronic acid came into being with Hyalogic, when we brought it into the natural channel, that they found a more natural source of this hyaluronic acid. In fact, it was found out in the soil in the Midwest fields. These horses were out rooting, and these horses had this nostril issue, and the farmers had it tested. And back then, they used the word eureka, and so that was their, and which translates to I have found. And so they had a eureka moment, because they found a natural source of hyaluronic acid out in the fields, and they thought it was a plant source until they discovered it was actually in the soil, and it was in the roots system of these plants. And so great minds like Dr. Brown that we have here in Kansas City figured out ways to take this, and they would ferment it, and it goes through this process of fermentation where it bubbles up, and they make more of that, and they dry it out, and then they rehydrate it. And so that is when they discovered how to make this product that we use here in Kansas City. And unfortunately, I wish that every company used this type of hyaluronic acid, but they don't. They came into this industry, they saw we were having some success, and then all of a sudden the Me Too companies start to show up. Well, that's fine. That's great. We really want to spread the word about hyaluronic acid. We just want you to use the right type, because when you use the right type of hyaluronic acid, it can change your life. You look at it, you can go to our website, you can look at what people talk about our hyaluronic acid, not just our supplements, even though I believe that beauty from within is probably the best way to get the hyaluronic acid working on your skin, is taking a supplement of hyaluronic acid. But really, you can put it on the skin, you can put it all over the skin, but there's some things that we know here in Kansas City that, there's just unfortunately, some other companies just haven't latched onto. They find these manufacturers over in the Middle East, and they supply them with the hyaluronic acid. It happens to be low chain because it either comes from a chicken source, or they found ways to make cheaper sources of this natural product that we use here in Kansas City. Yeah,
it's just not very ethical to do that to a chicken where they can't even raise their head. I wouldn't even want to take a form of hyaluronic acid that way.
No, every time I look at one of those, I think of foghorn leghorns.
That's horrible.
Yeah, that is.
And there's still companies out there that their hyaluronic acid comes from that source.
Yeah, there still are some that use that. Although I can tell you, I've been in this industry for 30 plus years now. I have seen more and more companies switch over to what you'll see on the packaging that we have. It's called sodium hyaluronate. And so this sodium hyaluronate, when you see it on there, now Dr. Brown says that can be, they can use that terminology for an animal source or a vegan source, which we use here in Kansas City. So you want to make that differentiate before you even would take a product like that. Then the other thing is to make sure that you're using what we call, and what science world calls, and this is the technical term, is high molecular weight hyaluronic acid, because that truly is what sets us apart from all the other companies. When I talk about this glucosaminoglycan, which is so important because, again, it's a repeating a long chain repeating pair of molecules. I always like to use links in a chain, because really ours have, if you were to take the links, ours would have millions of links long. Your body typically makes that between 1 million links up to maybe as much as 6 million links. We kind of fall right in the middle there for the hyaluronic acid. But I can tell you that it's a little bit difficult to do. And so when you've got a company that's knocking on your door from the Middle East or from China or someplace like that, and they've got this product and they say, hey, we've got it all ready for you, and guess what, you can put it in a capsule and you can sell it and make money, a really good profit off of that. And why wouldn't you save yourself from going through all those manufacturing processes like we do here at Hyalogic? I mean, that just makes sense if you're in the business world. However, according to Dr. Brown, when you put lower molecular weight in your body, guess what? It can actually create inflammation inside of the body. So that's totally opposite of what we're trying to do here. And since we're going to be talking a little bit more about skincare here and the products that that you have on your shelves there, one thing I'll say is, you can watch some of these videos on TikTok or some of these social medias that are about hyaluronic acid. And one of the common themes that you will see in these videos is typically after 30 days of use, your skin might break out. And I wonder why that happens. A dermatologist will tell you, take a little break from your skincare because it can cause a little bit of inflammation, and then you'll come back and start using it again. In fact, I hired somebody here who was using, one of the top brands that you can buy on Amazon of hyaluronic acid. And she said, after 30 days, my skin broke out and I had to stop using it. Well, that's because Dr. Brown says that it actually can cause inflammation. In fact, anywhere in your body has this balance of low and high molecular weight, because the high molecular weight kind of breaks down a third a day. So it goes down to a little lower molecular weight, and then the body pushes it out after 3 to 5 days. If you stop making the HA at a higher molecular weight, which unfortunately we all do, the low molecular weight can actually build up inside of your system, and it shows up in places like osteoarthritis. It shows up in joint pain. Guess what else it does? It can no longer hold on to the water molecule. So the water thins out. It's inside of our body. That's right. That's why you get bone on bone articulation, is because you no longer have that cushion in there of that thick hyaluronic acid with a high chain, high molecular weight HA. It becomes a low molecular weight. All of a sudden, that cartilage that's in there, which is called hyaline cartilage, reason why it's called hyaline cartilage is because hyaluronic acid is one of the things that takes care of our cartilage inside of our body. It kicks in nutrients, removes waste. And so, yeah, that cartilage wears down like a piece of chalk. And then all of a sudden you're going to the doctor. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so what I hear you saying is through scientific studies and testing that.
Ooh, I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
No.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me now?
Huh, that's interesting.
Talk real loud and I might be able to hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No, that's okay. If you talk real loud, I should be able to hear your question.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that if they're taking hyaluronic acid in capsules or a powder form, it's going to cause inflammation in the body. So you need to be taking liquid, like the type that you're talking about,
Yeah.
to prevent it.
So that is not necessarily true.
Okay.
And so there is low molecular weight in liquid form as well. And so that's a good thought that you could probably figure out from some of the things that I'm talking about. And that's a really key thing there, is because Dr. Brown taught us about how it actually gets into the body. And that's through these really powerful cell surface receptors called CD44 receptors. And so when you put it in a capsule, when you swallow it and it goes to your stomach, well, I'll explain here real quickly, because with these powerful cell surface receptors, is they're located really a lot in this mucosal membrane that we've got inside of our mouth, all that soft tissue that's there. It's also in your nasal cavities. It's also in your throat. So when you take hyaluronic acid, Dr. Brown says, let it rest, let it stay in your mouth a little bit longer. And that's why we focus on liquids. That's why we focus on gummies. That's why we focus on lozenges, because once it's found the CD44 receptor, it pulls it into the bloodstream. And then for about 2 to 3 minutes, it becomes what's called a rolling molecule. And that goes through your cardiovascular system. And so I asked Dr. Brown one time, I said, well, shouldn't this be a benefit to the cardiovascular system? And she said, yes, actually, there are CD44 receptors on the arterial walls while this is going through your cardiovascular system. And I always use the analogy of a slip and slide. If you're putting something that's a lubricant inside of your cardiovascular system, then she believes that it also can be beneficial in there as well. And then it gets out into the body through a diffusion method, systemically goes where it needs to go. However, we talked about the capsules and liquids. These CD44 receptors are everywhere actually in our body. They're in a high abundance in our mucosal membrane. But one area of the body that Dr. Brown says she has never seen evidence where there is a CD44 receptor that's bringing hyaluronic acid into the body is in the stomach. Well, so we either want to bypass the stomach, get it into the intestines, or we've got to get that absorption before it gets into the stomach. Now, that's why our gummies and lozenges, we started putting higher dosing of hyaluronic acid, because when you're using that long-chain glucosaminoglycan, you don't have to use hundreds of milligrams in order for it to be effective in the body. In fact, if you looked at the difference between the long chain and short chain, it'd be like dots on a board, or versus a long rope. In fact, a clothesline, because we're talking about that it holds 35, 36 soaking wet articles of water molecule. And so really, it's that big of a difference. Low molecular weight, even though it can be in a liquid form, guess what? You can shake that bottle up and it'll shake like a bottle of water because it no longer has the surface area to be able to hold on to one molecule of water. So when you're putting something that's runny on your skin, or something that's runny inside of your body, if your body is no longer making this HA molecule at optimal levels any longer, how do you expect that running bottle that you're putting in or on your body to be able to go to work? What your body has to do is it has to reassemble it. And then if you're using an animal source, there could be all kinds of micro contaminants in there that are not natural for your body. And that's why a vegan sourced HA is much better for you. And so some companies have animal sourcing in their liquids, and they have vegan sources in their liquids. However, what sets us apart is we don't just put it in our supplements, we put it in our skincare as well. And even if you go back to in the 1999 Journal of Dermatology, you will find there in that journal where it says that the lower molecular weight can only really penetrate into the epidermis layer of the skin. We have about 8 layers of epidermis layers. In fact, the outer layer is called the horned layer, and it's because of these carotenoid flakes that are on that outer layer of skin. And so you've really have to have something special to really penetrate and get to the dermis layer of the skin, where the journal said that only higher molecular weight long chain hyaluronic acid can be a true humectant, because when you're using skincare with hyaluronic acid in it, you've got to get into the dermis layer of the skin. You got 3 layers. You've got that outer layer, the epidermis, which is that protective layer, which that keratin really helps with that protective layer. There's a little animal called a pangolin, and it's the only mammal that has 100% keratin flakes on the outside of the body, which gives it this little protection when it rolls up in a ball. Well, guess what? Your fingernail, yeah, that's like a pangolin. It's 100% keratin. Your hair is made of keratin. Your skin has these carotenoid flakes in it, but you've got to get to the dermis layer. And so what happens is within 20 minutes of application of higher molecular weight, it gets down into the dermis layer. Now, some people might look at a study that's done online, and remember, companies pay for positive results on a study if they want to sell their product, and they pay for them to not say nice things about companies that they don't want to sell. Well, that's basically what happened with this hyaluronic acid molecule, because I want to tell you, they'll use Me Too companies will use words like nanotechnology. You've seen it. You've been in this industry a long time, and they always talk about absorption. Well, the hyaluronic acid molecule, even the glucosaminoglycan, that's a long chain molecule, is only 1 nanometer thick. All right. That's pretty small. Guess what? The HA, or the water molecule, is 0.27 nanometers. Okay, so we're talking in the same range there. Ours just happens to be longer. Well, if you're putting a bucket down into a well, which we want to get to the dermis layer, we want to get down to where the water's at, the good stuff. We don't want the surface water. We want to go down deep, because the surface is where all the gunk that falls into the well stays. All right, we want to get to that well water down deep. Imagine if you had to use a rope that had to be tied together every 1 foot to bring that water up. It'd be thump, 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 thump. And by the time you got that bucket up to the top, it might be empty because of all of the jerking around that was happening, because that rope couldn't hold it. It was bumping around. Well, you want that long chain molecule to drop that bucket in, take it up nice and smooth, and get all the water that you want. Okay. So that's what this long chain molecule does inside of the skin is when I say humectant. So what it does is it's like a part of it goes down into the skin to the dermis, and then just a little bit will stay out on the outer layer of your skin, and it creates a bridge network. And so this bridge network of all these HA molecules will stay there. And that's why when you put our serums on your skin, maybe 2 hours later, if you spritz a little water on there, it might feel slick. Well, the companies thought this, they thought, well, let's just say that doesn't absorb because it feels slick. Well, that's because that bridge network is a humectant. It's pulling the humidity from the air. It's pulling any water that you might come in contact with back deeper into your skin. And that's where you get the true plumpeting of this dermis layer of your skin. And guess what? Hyaluronic acid in the long chain form is anti-inflammatory inside of the body. That's right. You will never find the long chain form of hyaluronic acid where there's inflammation in the body. And that's why Dr. Brown, I asked her one time, I said, Dr. Brown, would you ever, give this low chain or short molecule hyaluronic acid to anybody? And she says, no. I mean, it was very, very quick. She doesn't believe that it sometimes is a good thing to have into the body because of the inflammation that it can create. Yes.
Well, I do have a question because I can imagine the listening audience is going to want to know this as well. Is at what age do we start needing hyaluronic acid?
That's a great question.
And what do we do with our lifestyle that could maybe hinder our natural production of hyaluronic acid where we might need it sooner? And how much should one take every day?
Yeah, those are great questions. I'll address the first one because that's the easiest to talk about. And so you really need to start thinking about this in your teens because that's when the hydration starts to dwindle a little bit. By you hit 20 years old, you're all of a sudden your production of hyaluronic acid starts to fall, and then all of a sudden the collagen production starts to fall as well. And so hyaluronic acid added into your daily regimen, if you take it internally, that's great. If you put it on topically, well, because it gets to the dermis layer, it can help also with the collagen production as well. And when you think about collagen and HA, I mean, that's important. You've got to have those two together working well inside of your body because the collagen is like building blocks that you might look at in a wall. And you can think of the hyaluronic acid as the mortar that holds these collagen, these building blocks together. And so they're very, very important to have those together inside of your body. Now, collagen supplements, you've really got to take a lot of collagen and really to make a difference inside of your body because collagen has to be broken down into a lower molecular weight because it branches out where the hyaluronic acid is a linear type molecule. And so it doesn't branch out. It's 1 nanometer thick going all the way out to your, million chain long. And so that's great. So yeah, I would start in my late teens, early teens, adding the hyaluronic acid. And at that time, all you want to use is a pure hyaluronic acid molecule. I mean, that's the purest. We've got it right here. You've got it on your shelves. It's called pure hyaluronic acid serum. Now, that serum itself, if you were to compare that to other serums, it's 99 or roughly around 99.97% pure because there's only 3 ingredients inside of it. You've got hyaluronic acid, you've got a little zinc citrate, just a scotch of zinc citrate, and then you've got water. And we use a very, very special type of water here in Kansas City that we use with our products. We're not just getting it out of the tap water. We have to have a very, very special type of water delivered here in Kansas City in order to put that together. So that's all you want to start out with. And, this is great. This will give you that Hollywood, that glow that you see on TV all the time when the stars are out at the awards shows. They're wearing a lot of hyaluronic acid. In fact, you can always tell when they're using hyaluronic acid because their skin is very, very glowy, very, very shiny. They probably put on a lot. And sometimes if you put on too much, guess what will happen? it'll dry and flake off before it even has a chance to fully absorb into the skin. So if that ever happens to you, just use a little bit less. It really only takes about a pea size in your hand, because you're going to want, anytime you put hyaluronic acid on the skin, you're going to want to moisten that skin a little bit before you apply it, especially in Montana, where there's a drier climate. All right. So you're not going to have the true humectant of pulling that humidity out of the air because it's a little drier climate. So you're always going to make sure that you carry a spritz bottle of maybe, we've got, a little spritz of hyaluronic acid that you guys might carry. But also you can have a little distilled water, because remember, anytime you put something on your skin with hyaluronic acid, it can pull it into the skin. So you want to make sure that you're using the cleanest, best product that you can use. And so, yeah, that product will work great for you for years. We've got that. We've got. I wanted to see if you guys carry that product or not, but we'll have to talk about that because that. Oh yeah, you've got the collagen facial mist there, and so the collagen facial mist you can use as a spritz. It'll go great in a bag if you got to go on a trip or something like that. You can just daily just put a little couple sprays on it, especially in drier climates, because what happens is if you put hyaluronic acid on dry skin in drier climates, sometimes, and this is not all the time, but sometimes you can feel that tightening, that maybe a little reddening to the skin, because guess what? It might be pulling a little of the hyaluronic or the hydration to the surface of the skin, which you think is a good thing, but we actually want to put it back into the skin. Okay, so always hydrate with a moist cloth or a little spritz before you put it on. So yeah, that pure hyaluronic acid will work for you for years until all of a sudden the dermis layer is giving out a little bit and you have a little collapse in the skin. And that's exactly what a wrinkle is. A wrinkle is you've got this, I call it the marshmallow layer in the skin, where you've got the fibroid tissue, you've got the elastin, all these kind of things. Looks like an old bed with box spring bed. It looks really neat. Sometimes it looks like a kelp garden. I don't know. When I look at it, but it's just full of life. However, as you age, if you're not using hyaluronic acid, that skin thins out, and then what happens is you've got a collapse, like a cave in, and that causes your wrinkles because it can no longer support that outer layer of skin. So when you've been laying on a pillow on your side, sometimes you can always tell when they're a side sleeper, because right here on their nose they'll have a little bit of a wrinkle, and that's because they've been pushing that skin together a little bit there. So you can get deep wrinkles up in here, and so that is where conditional response happens beyond our pure hyaluronic acid. And so we're talking about our instant facelift. We're talking about some of the other things that you have, the age spot lightening, the collagen facial products. Okay, that's when you start to add products that are condition specific. We've got one with arginine. Arginine really fills in the deep wrinkles, the deep cracks. You've got yourselves there. You've got our instant facelift. Now, the instant facelift is fantastic. And by the way, every one of our serums has that hyaluronic acid that's the same that's in our pure hyaluronic acid serum. It's just that we've added additional ingredients for different types of conditions. So instant facelift, you can actually feel a little bit of tightening that happens on the skin. And this is the great next product to start working with, because it'll tighten the skin. It works really with fine lines and wrinkles. And it's got this algae peptide that is inside of there. And if you wanted a vision of what that might look like, think of going into a spa and laying on a table wrapped in algae. Sometimes you see that green stuff they put on you. Yeah, I mean, we've put that in a bottle. And so we've added that with hyaluronic acid. And it works beautifully. In fact, if you're going on, if it's date night, put a little bit of that on, tighten the skin up a little bit. You'll love it. It's fantastic. And you can just remember, use this morning and night. All of our serums, you want to use them morning and night. They really, really work well. All right. So again, conditionally, some of these other products that you might have, you've got the lactic acid serum. Okay. Now, This is great. This is a fantastic product, and this is one you don't want to use in the morning. You want to use this at nighttime because lactic acid is, it'll cause a peel, just a really slightly. It's just got a little bit in there, and you use it nightly. And so we've got this mantle of skin, and this epidermis that I talk about is this on the outer layers, they're dead skin cells. And so your skin is constantly regenerating and pushing a lot of these dead skin cells. Don't take a microscope to the pillowcase, because the microscope to the pillowcase, you may see things you don't want to see. So these dead skin cells are constantly pushing out, and what that does is guys like me, I'm using a washcloth, on my face every day, so I'm exfoliating really well. And sometimes ladies, they don't get as good an exfoliation as they need, and so this lactic acid, you put it on that skin, and then by morning, it does release a little bit of the dead mantle of skin that's on there, and you can wipe that clean, wash while you wash your face. Your skin will feel like a baby's skin. And then you want to put the pure hyaluronic acid on after you've done that, and do your, you've got your morning routines, where whether you're using a scrub, whether you're using a toner, whether you're using a something with witch hazel, something that'll cleanse the skin. Once you've done all your normal routine, that's when we're talking about adding your serums. And this will be like before you put your makeup on. In fact, when you're using a higher molecular weight of hyaluronic acid, I always say let that rest about 15 minutes before you're going to apply makeup, because if you're using a water-based makeup, then you can find, in fact, I remember walking into a store in Texas, and we had this. This was early on with my work with Hyalogic, and she said, "Oh, I love your serums. I love your serums, but I can't wear makeup when I wear your serums." I said, "Well, that's really interesting. Let's talk about that." And so she explained to me, and I'm an opera singer, and so I've taken classes in makeup and things like that, and so I know the different types of cake makeup, foundations, and things like that. And so I said, is there any chance that you're using a water-based foundation, a cream of some sort? And she said, "Well, yes, of course." And I said, "Well, that's probably what the issue is. Let your face rest a little bit before you put your makeup on." And that solved the problem that she was having, because yeah, I mean, when we're talking hydration, I mean, that can interact with that completely. Yeah.
Would you apply it before moisturizer?
So that's a great question. You want to use a moisturizer to seal that hyaluronic acid into the skin. So you're going to want to put that on as your next step after you put the hyaluronic acid on your skin. In fact, a lot of people will use the pure hyaluronic acid, then they'll use whatever condition they're working on, and they'll just put those in different spots, whether it be deep wrinkles, whether it be fine wrinkles, whether it be age spots, something like that. And that's why those bottles will last for a very, very long time. And then you want to put whatever your favorite moisturizer is. We've got some good choices here with our brand, but you want to put that on, because then that locks it in. And then you can put things on over top of that. But again, I'd say give it 10, 15 minutes. Give yourself a little, set that alarm maybe a little earlier, so that you can make sure that the face goes on right.
And then the other question I have is, for internal use, when's the best time to take it? And would you do it the same with the topical morning and night, or just once a day?
Yeah, so that's another great question. I tend to use it morning and night when I'm using internal. But if you're using our Synthobial 7, a lot of people will use it in the morning because it becomes a routine. So that's the most important thing to think about, is you want it to be a routine, whether it be internally or topically, because if you don't use it, guess what? You're not turning that engine back on. You're going to be backsliding just a little bit. You have to use it daily, and you will notice it. I'm telling you, our advanced formula of hyaluronic acid is such a life changer. My dad, who's 88 years old, last year he sat me down and he goes, "Matt, I want to tell you, I wouldn't be here without your product." And I mean, when your dad tells you something like that, that really it really gets you. That really sells you on the fact that you have really something here that is very, very special. It was life changing in my dad. My dad had to retire in his 70s. My dad's one of those people that he doesn't want to stop working, but he couldn't walk any longer. And
Mm.
so after a while, I started telling my dad, you need to use our advanced formula hyaluronic acid. Let's try it out. All of a sudden, my dad was feeling great again. He was out mowing the lawn. He was out doing all kinds of stuff. And it also, my mom's a beautician. She said his hair was growing back just from using our high dosage of hyaluronic acid. I have one customer in Pennsylvania. His wife swears, and she's a store owner, and she says that it's changed his hair color from gray back to the natural color by using our advanced form. Now, is that going to happen to everyone? Absolutely not. But I do know that 100% of all of us that are sitting out there that are listening to this need more hyaluronic acid. That's just scientific truth. In fact, we've talked a little bit about this low, high molecular weight. What sets us apart is we use it even in our skincare. Well, if you go and look at some of the science in the National Institute of Health, it says that, when it comes to chronic joint pain, that and you're looking for something other than medication, you're looking for something other than an NSAID, which is like it's a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, which is actually an Advil. That's a drug. That's right. If you're looking for something natural to use, that actually high molecular weight hyaluronic acid can be something that can work very, very well with any type of joint pain. So right there, there's also another one in another magazine that I can send you the information on, but it talks about between low and high molecular weight, that it says the difference between low and high molecular weight is just superior. And when you're talking scientific studies and they use the word superior, that's a big word. And so, I really believe in what we do. This is one of those products that you can give to a family member, and they're going to come back with you to you with a story. They're going to tell you, this stuff's amazing. What have you got in here? It really is. We do it the right way because we've got Dr. Karen Brown here. We've got owners that care about you. That's right. They care about what your life is like, and they want you to be able to get up and walk. They want you, we see more scooters and walkers and canes, and that's a big business now. You see it everywhere. Back in the day when I was a kid, the only time you'd see a cane is when you're going to church, and Grandpa was dressed to the nines in a suit, and he'd have this special cane that he'd like to walk with his fedora on. Well, now we see that everywhere because we're a country that is really in an epidemic of pain. And so when you're using a product like hyaluronic acid, when you're taking care of yourself, and this comes with a good diet, with good practices in eating, with using higher quality water like you've got there at the store, putting all of this together, now we're living the good life. Now we're talking that, hey, you know what? When I get a little bit older and the grandkids are out playing in the yard, maybe I'll be able to go out there and do some fun things with them, because I'm not just going to be sitting on a couch. I'm not just going to be sitting in the rocking chair, which sounds great to me. I mean, who doesn't look forward to watching sunrises and sunsets with somebody sitting in a rocking chair every day? I mean, that's great. But I want to be active when I get older. And so I'm definitely going to continue, even if I don't work here once I retire. I'm going to use hyaluronic acid because I believe in it 100%. And when it comes to skin products, you've got a great assortment there. And let me show you this picture here. I mean, if you can see it, I mean, you look at that right there. That is my hair after 3 weeks of using our biotin scalp spray. I hope you have this picture in your store there, because it has about a 40% growth coverage just after 3 weeks of using that. And I know you guys have got that. That's one of our top selling products. And if you've got somebody that doesn't have male pattern baldness, like that's passed on through heredity, then you can really do something about that. Or women, they get thin right in here. You can spray it in here and really help get that going, because basically what it has in it is it's our hyaluronic acid with biotin. What does biotin do? Biotin creates keratin. skin. It increases the production of keratin. And so by adding biotin either internally or externally, which your hair is made of 3 different layers of keratin, then you can make a real difference. And you can see even a thickening. You can even feel on that hair follicle that it has thickened it up. And that's something you use morning and night. Then the last thing I want to mention is our joint rub that you have there. It is spectacular. Now, it does have emu oil in it, so it's not totally vegan, but it has everything in there. And what it does is with the capsaicin, with the CMO, is it vasodilates the skin. And so you might even see a little bit of a reddening on the skin when you put this in, because it's opening up and it gets deep into the joints. Yeah.
Well, we're out of time. So we want to thank you so much for coming on. Your wealth of knowledge, and yeah, thanks for joining us today. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you.
It's a great day always for some HA. There's no doubt about it.
And thanks, Matt.
You're listening to the Let's Stay Healthy radio show, sponsored and brought to you by Montana Harvest Natural Food Store in Billings, Montana.